Oh, thank you so much for
Hi,
taking
Lonnie.
my call.
Oh, you got it.
I have never heard this show before. I just got in my car, turned on the radio, thinking that there might be a Dodgers game on or something, and I heard this radio show, and I thought, oh, my God, this is wonderful. I've got to tune in. Is this a regular show?
Yes, we're on every week, Lonnie, from 8 to 9 on Sunday nights on KFWB, also XM 165. And you could hear all our old shows at KLEANradio.com. That's clean with a K because we're cool like that. And in the studio tonight, guest hosting is Jennifer Easy on the Izzy Jimenez. So, you know, she's...
That is so cool.
So, Lonnie, so you're sober over 30 years?
Yes. May the 20th, 1982 was the last drink I had.
That's absolutely amazing.
Thank you for showing us that it exists.
And so how, like, let me ask you a question. So when you turn on a show like this, when you were getting sober, was it, you know, I'm sober like close to 13 years. It was, you know, so people like you that are sober 30 years made it easy for me. How was it 30 years ago? Was it...
You know what? 30 years ago, I saw people like Chuck Chamberlain, who was like a god down here in this area, and big guys like that. And I thought, you know what? They just never drank like I did. They must not have had the same problem I have. But I looked at the guys with 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, and those people I believed. The people with 10 years and more, I just really didn't believe them. I thought they must not have had the problem that I've got because they obviously just haven't been able to, you know, they've stayed sober so long, and I know it's not possible for me. But that guy with 6 months, I thought maybe that's possible.
Right, that's doable.
Yeah.
And what do you, so in the beginning of the show we were talking about, because, you know, there are a lot of people out there right now that are going through pain. And one of the things about this show that we try to talk about is the life after you get sober and that there is life to be had. And a lot of times people, when they get to a month or 2 months and the pain gets really great, that's when they decide, I don't want to go through. They can't handle the pain.
Yeah.
Yes, I quit many times. Quitting wasn't really my problem. I knew how to quit, but I didn't know how to stay quit.
Right.
Because a month, I could put together a month or 3 months sometimes by willpower. But I would always get to that point, which I heard you talking about on the show, that point where it just feels like I cannot do this. I cannot go through this. I can't stand this much pain. I have to find a way out of this pain, and I have to take a drink. And that would always happen to me. And until I got to Alcoholics Anonymous and sat in rooms with lots of people who were just like me, talking, telling their stories that were just like mine, until I got to that and stayed there long enough for the magic to happen, I could not stay quit. And the magic that happened for me happened around 60 days, is when I was relieved from the desire to drink. It left me.
And how great has the last 30 years been?
Well, you know what? I got sober when I was 27 years old.
Wow.
And so everything that has happened in my life that has been worthwhile has happened in the last 30 years. The first 27 years were just not worthwhile.
Right.
They weren't worth living. But the last 30 years, everything that's happened to me that's been good has happened to me since I've been sober. Like, I've met my beautiful wife. We've had a beautiful daughter. She's grown up, and she's had a beautiful son.
And I think, Lonnie, I'm going to stop you because I think that's so important that you're talking about that, because I think sometimes it's like when people are trying to get sober, we were talking about, they look at the past and they're like, it's like their first thought is, as they're getting sober, oh God, did I do that? You know, and it's like, it's sort of amazing that you're sharing this, that 30 years, you know, what gave it to you was stopping.
Yeah, and not everybody too. Like, I love that you're talking about what your last 30 years have been like, because, you know, some people get sober when they're in their 30s or 40s or 50s or even 60s, and they're like, oh, but my life is already over. And it's like, no, your life can now, it can really start. You can create it to be what you want it to. It sounds like what you did, and you were young, but you know, you've lived through it all, and it's amazing that you've stayed sober through it all.
Well, nobody back then. Nobody in those rooms was as young as I.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They were all old people. I'm not sure why, but I was a youngster at 27, and everybody else was old. You know, over 50, or
I thought you were going to say over 30.
Over 40. You know, and to me, my initial thought was I felt really ripped off. That they had been able to drink their whole lives until they get like 50 years old or 60 years old, and then they got to quit. And how unfair is it that I hit my bottom and I ran smack into that brick wall when I'm 27 years old? It's just not fair.
That by the way, that's hysterical because I have shared the same exact thing of this jealousy that I used to be. When I got sober when I was 22, I was jealous of the people that got there when they were 50, that they had the extra 28 years of drinking out there.
Yeah.
And then the people that were 50 were jealous of me because I had gotten in while I was young. And then I realized no matter when you get sober, you're miserable.
Exactly.
No matter what age. Lonnie, we got to run, but please listen again. Like us on Facebook. We're at KLEAN Radio, on Facebook/KLEAN Radio.
Thank you so much for calling us.
Yeah.
And again, thank you for showing us that this
We're
works.
we're on every Sunday night from 8 to 9, Lonnie. And it's great to know people still listen to the radio, even if you're looking for the Dodger game. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio Live. That's KLEAN with a K. The number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539.